Hello everybody, welcome to part 2 of my video series. I think it's going to be a 3-parter. In this upcoming video I install some Chav blue LEDs in my decks. There's a little out of sequenceness going on because I think at the point that I started installing the blue LEDs I still thought that I was going to succeed in mirror polishing the decks. Gullible, naive vision was soon smashed. But if you want to see that, check out part 1. The link to that will be in the description for this one. Anyway, enough of that blather. Let's get on with it. Oh yeah, by the way, subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. Very important. Right, anyway, on with the show. So while I'm waiting for all my additional abrasives to arrive, so I can have another go at the deck tops, I'm going to blue LED all this lot. Yeah, so I just thought I'd show you this. So I did have a look at sourcing all the LEDs and things for this job, but I think it's such a common conversion that people have actually put together kits. So all the properly shaped LEDs are in there, like the pitch fader LED is like a square, and that's included, and also the target light LED is like pre-assembled with a resistor in line. So like, I think these were $5.95 each from eBay, and I got 2 kits. They come with instructions as well, which is kind of handy. And sourcing these individual components would have cost more than that and been a real pain in the bum, real hassle. So this is pretty good on eBay. I'll probably put the seller's eBay account details on a little flashcard or something. But yeah, pretty cool. So cracking on with that. So I've done one of them. Hi. I've done one of them, and it was a giant pain. But it is done. There's the LED in the target light tower. Hopefully you can see that. The light isn't great. So I'm going to show you the other one. So I've got the aluminium top off the target light tower. I'll show you how we get it all apart. So we've got this diagram to follow. Okay, so we've got red wire and black wire from our kit. In our diagram, we junk the resistor and we remove the black wire. So we get rid of that resistor and that black wire connection there. Okay, so we use the solder sucker to clear up the hole and the connection on the switch. So we snip the resistor off from the connection to the brown wire on the switch. Now we pulled the black wire out from the P-clip that's just holding everything together. We leave the brown wire well enough alone, but we'll cut off the orange wire, leaving as much length as we can. Strip it back a teeny bit. I had to do that 3 times. The jacket of the wire was really stretchy. It wasn't cutting, it was just stretching. Okay, so that's that done. So now we've got to get rid of our old target light, so we'll cut this bit off because that heat shrink's never going to go through there. So this target light, the wires exit just above the return spring, and they would over time get crimped and crushed, I think, and probably broken. So there's this grey PVC piece of tube over the wires just at that critical point. So we've got to get our wires back up through there, so we're going to have to cut this piece off. Make sure you can still see what's going on. Okay, so now we're just going to pull our target lamp by its white holder. We don't need to reuse the white holder. I'll show you why in a sec. It's just for this kit we don't need to reuse the white holder. With other kits you might well need to. So we just pull the lamp. It's hard, but pull the lamp up through the target lamp body. So you see the black wires disappearing through the piece of grey tubing. Okay, so we've done that. Got our old lamp out. The grey tubing has remained in place. Let's see if we can get the new lamp threaded in. And the reason we don't need the white collar is the person who assembled this kit has fitted heat shrink. So there's a resistor in there on the red side. So that is basically doing the same standoff job that the white collar is doing. Okay, so not quite succeeding. I'll zoom you in. So if you push the target light holder down just a teeny bit and push, you can see that the grey tubing is moving, so we're pushing on the top of the grey tubing. So let's pull the grey tubing out. Just try feeding our wires through. They're going right down through the middle. Oh. Let's try and get one at a time. So I'll bend the end of the red one. I'll bend the end of it with a hook. Let's try and get that through. Okay, we succeeded. The tip of the red wire is just poking through. Hopefully you can see that. Focus. So what we're going to do now is use forceps, like a surgeon, to pull that bit of red wire through there. So push down a little teeny bit. Okay. Let go. Okay. So red wire's now through, so let's continue with the black one. make a little hook in the end, and then slide them down the target light tower. Okay, I'm going to need the forceps again. So I managed to achieve the same thing. The head of the black wire, or the tip of the black wire, is just poking through as well. So, forceps again. Okay. And to help you remember where the front of the target light tower is, that's where the screw for the cover is, on the front. So in this kit we have to bend this LED over now. We have to bend it tight as well because we have to get the target light tower cover on. So let's do that. Tiled fit. So I don't know if you can see that, but the LED is like skew whiff in the tower. So I'm just going to poke in there and put something thin. And just, there we go. Just steering so he's pointing out the front, and I want him vertically positioned in the middle. Now we have to refit our grey tube so our cables don't get crushed. Once you've got it started like that, it's easier to fit by grabbing it and using your like thumbnail or something to get behind it and slide it up the cable. Yeah? Does that make sense? Like pinching it like that. God, focus, come on. Pinching it like that, sliding it up a cable. The object is to make sure that the black and red cable, where it can get pinched by the spring at the bottom, is covered by the grey. Right, got her in the end. Target light is in the middle of the tower, looking beautiful. Right, so now we need to run the black wire through the P-clip. Like so. Working out a shot. Solder it to the switch. Okay, now this kit came with a little piece of heat shrink to use to cover the join. Or the red and the orange wire. And we're going to show unusually good foresight and slide the piece of heat shrink on before we join the two wires. Normally on the kind of idiot you would just go and solder it and then have to do it twice. Nifty solder pen. Flux pen, sorry. Just recover the lid. Okay. Into a kinked. Oh, motherfucker. Everything's always 10 times harder when it's on camera. And I know I should really get one of those tools with the little clamps on it. And at length, we're done. Right, so we've had a bit of a change. So my girlfriend did me a favour and popped upstairs and rummaged around and found my third-hand tool. That doesn't mean it's had lots of owners. That's what these gadgets can be referred to as. It's like third hand, or a pair of hands even. I'll zoom you in some more. So I'm now on to the switch group. So I'm going to start with the 3345 select buttons, the LEDs in there. So there is a zip tie holding the wiring them together. So we'll snip that, and the LEDs are here and here. The solder pads are really tiny, so I switched my tip to a really tiny tip. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, now don't laugh, my eyes aren't so good, so I'm going to use one of these to inspect what I've done. Now I've got a pair of these electronics nippers. They can get really close to things, to cut things, like really flush. Oh, I'm going to do something about this camera. Okay, so that's about as much as we can remove from this side. So we've removed as much solder as we can, and we've removed as much lead as we can. And now we're going to unscrew the board with the switches on it. And the rest of the switch assembly. Try and keep things in view. These are our two LEDs, there and there. So I'm going to pinch them from my forefinger from this side while working on the solder joints for the other side. Also of note, which this camera could show things close up, but it seems buggered, but this is about as close as we're going to be able to get. That side. Yeah, there you go. These little pieces, rubber pieces, we're going to need to save those. Those are standoffs to make these LEDs at the right height to illuminate the buttons when selected. So be careful of them. Don't lose them. You need them. Right, let's carry on. Oh, I can't grab them. I'm going to use pliers because I can't grab them. Right, there goes one. The all important little rubber piece. And there goes two. We've got to clean up the solder holes now. And to do that, we use solder braid. So this is like braided copper, and hold it over a solder hole, or a soldered hole, and press the soldering iron against it, and it will wick up the solder from the hole onto the braid. So watch it in action. Let's use on tool now. And it hold the board. Okay, there we go. See if you can see the actual work. There we go. So you just place the copper braid right over the hole, press the soldering iron against it. Normally you'll see a little curl of smoke come up, but sometimes there's no need to use it. But you have to have it on hand for jobs like this, because if the solder hole is blocked, you won't be able to get a component through it. Okay, so our board is marked with the orientation our diodes ought to have. Little triangles, but a triangle with a line at the end is the diode symbol. The fat end of the triangle, or the long end of the triangle, corresponds to the long lead on an LED, which is really handy. Just remember long and long. I believe it's the anode. But just remember long and long. Long side of the triangle corresponds to, I'll get the LED out of the packet. Where's it looking? Yeah. So there's an LED. Well, hopefully you can see that one of the legs is longer than the other. So that long leg is the anode, and we'll need to point towards the long side of the triangle that's printed on the board. We mustn't forget to fit our little white spacers or standoffs as well. So quickly do that, slide that one on, find where the long side of the triangle is. It's pointing that way, so long leg of the component, upwards, sliding on in there. And I spread the legs of the component once I've got it installed, in order to hold it in until I get it soldered. I'll load the other LED, the smallest one of the ones in the kit. Find our spacer. Get that slid on. Same orientation. The broadest end of the triangle is facing towards the top of the board. So long leg anode of the component oriented towards the top of the board. And then, as I said, spread the component leads on the back just to hold it in position until we get it soldered. Right, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to flip that round. As you can see, I've splayed the leads of the components. Get my solder, do my thing. Oh, hang on, almost forgot. Gonna flux the joints, so I've got this lovely flux pen again. I'm gonna solder. Right, blind old man again. Okay, so that's all soldered up and cleaned up. Now we're going to do the LEDs in the strobe light. So get this bit off. You just pull it off. Simple as that. Oh, you're really far away. Let me zoom you back in again. Okay. Yeah, so to get the on-off switch off, it is just a case of pulling it off. There we go. Oh, hang on, before I do that. It's like a piece of plastic film in there that diffuses the light. Okay. Down in here, there are like a couple of clips that are holding this aluminium collar on. I might just have to ease one of them back with something. Alright, I'm just going to find something I can ease these clips back with. Wow, okay, it needs to be a bloody octopus to do some of these tasks, I tell you. So, eventually I've got it off. These two lugs, lamp, these two lugs, there and there, hopefully you can see those, there and there, it's all black on black. Locate with cutouts in here. So what I did was to push the screwdriver down through the top just to ease those lugs back very gently. I don't want to break any of this stuff. And as you can see, there are the 4 LEDs that are objects of interest on a little board, and this board is held in with a little lug on the back. So we need to ease that back without breaking it. So get the wires out of the way. I'm actually going to use a splodger for this, as I can get to it fairly easily. Okay. So we got him released from the clip, so now we just pull him up and away. Okay, we've got him. We can work on it now. So, same deal as before. There were little rubber standoffs on the LEDs. At this time only on one leg. So we'll save all of those. And we'll do the same thing. We'll desolder as much as we can from the back and solder that out, and then we'll snip the leads as short as we can, and then we'll pull all the LEDs out. So leads were already short on these, so I just went ahead and pulled it out. Hang on, switch. So hopefully you can see that little piece of rubber that we're going to save. Okay, so there's our our board, LED-less. So we'll clean up those holes with a solder braid. So we should better get our LEDs through. It's the biggest LEDs in the kit. Four of them. So what I'm checking for when I look through the magnifying glass is I'm checking that our solder joints are like nicely domed and are nice and shiny, that we haven't got any grey ones. Grey ones are cold joints and they are crap. They will break and like cease to be properly conductive, all sorts of terrible things. So we don't want that. So we're looking for nice shiny domed solder joints. Also, we need all these to be pointed inwards, but there's enough flexibility in the legs of the components that you can just solder them pretty much any old how and then bend them to be all pointing inwards to fit in the tower afterwards. Okay, so let's get this board off. There's a screwdriver for that, there it is. And then we can run our red and brown wires how we want them to be. Actually, I should have left that board connected. I've created more trouble for myself now, so flapping around everywhere. I'll come back into shot. So what I'm doing right now is I'm fitting the little board with the LEDs on it where it needs to be. So it goes behind the two posts, but in front of that little latch piece, that little tang that we had to pull up. And there are two notches in the board for its wires to run through. So we need to make sure those wires are in there, and the wires run either side of that notch, tang, whatever you want to call it, that we had to flip in order to get the board off in the first place. Working out a shot. So here we go. Let's do what I just described. Try and do it without breaking anything. It's a tricky one. Okay, I managed to do it. So there we are, we've got that assembled on there. So our LEDs are sort of pointing inwards, so we'll be able to fit the tower over them. And now we route our cables back through the board. So we've got this little hole to go through there, and a little slalom effect thing, which I'm sure when you're doing this you'll have fully taken note of how it's assembled. And then we go around there, and then we can put our switchboard back on. One thing we have to make sure of is that this red and brown wire don't disappear down the hole where the start-stop switch is, or start-stop switch won't work, or we'll crimp our wires or do some terribleness. So the red and brown wire run along the front of the stop switch, and I really want to try and get down that hole where the start-stop switch is. Right, okay, so we've got all that assembled. Now we can put our screw back in, drop it on the floor for good measure. Yeah. I've prepared a little square of cloth tape, which I'll just put back around there, just in the interest of quality. Okay, so now we're going to put the aluminium surround back on, lining it up with the little lugs inside. Trying to push it on without breaking it. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to stick our little diffusing film into there. Oh, actually, maybe I should have done that before I put the... Yeah, I think maybe I should have done that. Yep. Back a step. So I'm going to put the diffusing film on because it needs to go inside those two lugs that hold the surround on. So that would have been really hard to do with the surround in place. What's that in there? It's a bit of hot glue. Okay. No, I can't shut. Nope. There we go. I'll start stop switch back on. Cool. And last but not least, we'll tidy up this wiring, replace that zip tie that we snipped off in the beginning. There we go. That's the switch assembly. Join its friend. Okay, one last thing to do. So the last thing to do is the pitch slider center point LED. It's got really long legs on it, and it just goes through a board that just kind of holds it, stop it from wobbling around. But the solder connections are on the board that has the fader soldered onto it. So this is where we're working. So I think what we'll do here is we'll solder suck around these a little bit and then snip the legs off and then just pull it through. Don't think we're going to have any problems with this one. Long-legged. So as I say, we have to be careful that we don't pull too hard, or we'll wreck the vias, I think these are called, on our solder traces. So we have to be very careful. Okay, so we've only got one LED left in each kit. And we've got an orientation diagram, torch of some sort. Try and tilt it so you can see it. Where is it? Yeah, it's behind that small board. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but there is, yeah, you can probably see it. There's a little diagram with D301, oh, it's the wrong way up, D301 written on it. and that's what gives us the idea for orientation. So remember, it's the long leg towards the thick end of the triangle. So let's do that. We have to try and sort of get our leads into the alignment they're going to need to get through those holes all the way down on that other board. Job done. Rinse and repeat. Okay, so we've got it all done, and you missed that because soldering must be a practice art, because by the end my soldering, well, took about a nanosecond. So here we go. 2 pitch sliders sorted. 2 switch assemblies sorted. Oh. I'm trying not to break them. Oh, 2 target light assemblies also sorted. Hopefully. So we get our polishing job finished up on those deck tops, and yeah, get this lot reassembled, see what we got. I think it's going to be fine, but you know, never know, do you? Cool. Right, see you in the next instalment.